4-year anniversary of the Parkland school shooting. Find out what a school is doing to honor the lives lost.
And some football fans took to the streets after the big game last night. More details ahead.
Broadcasting live from the University of North Texas, this is ntTV News at Noon.
Thanks for joining us for ntTV News at Noon. I'm Austin Wright.
And I'm Jalen Jackson. We have a great show for you today.
Airlines are opening for new passengers again. While many are eager for travel, some passengers have caused delays for airlines. Check out these photos from a particular flight to D.C. The American Airlines flight for Sunday from Los Angeles to D.C. was diverted to Kansas City International. The airline said the flight was stopped because a passenger was interfering with the flight crew. A statement released said law enforcement was requested and the unruly passenger was taken into custody and questioned. The photo taker said he saw people going to the front of the plane to help hold the passenger down. According to him, the passenger was attempting to enter the cockpit until a flight attendant hit him over the head with a coffee pot.
Studies show that the COVID-19 vaccine booster effectiveness wanes after 4 months. However, it still offers protection. This was found from a study published by the Disease Control and Prevention on Friday. Researchers found that with the Omicron variant dominant, vaccine effectiveness against hospitalizations fell from working at 71% in 2 months after the vaccination to just 54% in 5 months. However, when the Delta mutation was present, vaccine effectiveness fell from 96 to 76%. Health experts said the study further proves the importance of booster shots.
The weather this week is looking pretty nice, don't you think?
It really is, but let's turn it over to our weather anchor, Sydney Deshawn, for a quick update on what exactly we can expect. Sydney?
Thanks, guys. Let's go ahead and take a look at our current conditions here in Denton. Right now, we are sitting at 61 degrees, and it does feel slightly warmer at 62 with those moderate wind speeds at 10 miles per hour. Now, let's move on to tonight. We are going to be seeing slightly warmer temperatures. It's going to be 71, feeling a little chillier at 67 with higher wind speeds at 17 miles per hour. Now, moving forward to tomorrow's forecast, we are going to be seeing temperatures in the mid-60s. It will be feeling like 63 with, again, those high wind speeds at 18 miles per hour. That is it for our first look. Make sure to stay with us for our full weather forecast later in the show. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Sydney. While gas prices across the country continue to rise, drivers are being affected more than ever. The problem could get worse before it gets better, as oil demand is outpacing supply. CNN's Gabe Cohen gives us an inside look on the issue.
Add gas prices to the list of surging costs weighing on Americans' wallets.
The price has been a little bit more each time.
The national average now around $3.44 a gallon, up more than $1 from a year ago, and the highest since 2014.
It's just like, damn, like it changes the way I pump gas.
And it's only getting worse, approaching the record national average of $4.11.
Do you think we could hit that record in the months ahead?
I think we have a very good chance.
It's an issue of supply and demand dating back to the start of COVID. Just look at this roller coaster chart of U.S. gas prices over time. In March 2020, prices plummeted. Americans weren't on the road. Oil producers, including OPEC, cut back on investments and operations. They had nowhere to store extra oil.
They laid off employees. They didn't work their rigs.
But when the vaccines rolled out, demand for fuel skyrocketed, more than experts expected, and the oil industry didn't have the supply. They're still playing catch-up.
You can't just turn on a spigot. These are long cycle projects.
So gas prices have been surging for 14 months, only briefly dipping during Omicron. Demand is back at pre-pandemic levels. Even AAA can't explain that.
They're trying to kind of figure it out right now.
And the conflict on the Ukrainian border is adding a new strain. Russia is the world's second largest oil producer. If the crisis escalates, JP Morgan says oil prices could soar from $91 a barrel to $120.
If we were to see Russia potentially withhold energy exports, the question would be who could make up for that?
I'm going to work like the devil to bring gas prices down.
It's a huge political problem for the Biden administration, which says it's now engaging with oil-producing countries to increase production, preparing to go after firms that manipulate prices, and considering dipping back into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. In November, they announced the release of 50 million barrels from that supply.
And it resulted in very little, more like negligible impact.
At this price point, you'll start to see more production come back, but there's still a gap that needs to be filled.
One source of hope, new talks with Iran over a nuclear deal. If that gets done, Western companies could start buying more Iranian oil. But as of now, oil prices are expected to keep rising for months, adding fuel to inflation on everything from groceries to store goods, and driving price hikes at the pump.
It's not just my car, it's every single aspect of my life is impacted by gas prices.
There is nothing yet that can be done to fix the shortage, but drivers should remain aware of the shortage. Anti-vaxxers from Canada protest at the Pacific border.
And coming up, 8 people were hospitalized for carbon monoxide poisoning.
When you park in front of the ramp, somebody can't make it up the ramp. When somebody can't make it up the ramp, they miss their class. When they miss their class, they fail their final. When they fail their final, they drop out of school. If you drop out of school, you get a face tattoo from a guy named Scorpion. Don't get a face tattoo from a guy named Scorpion. Be courteous. Don't block wheelchair ramps.
Oh, hey, didn't see you there. Let's get started. This is a motor vehicle. This is the blinker mechanism. To use it, push it up for the right blinker and down to go left. You're welcome. It was easy.
The U.S. and NATO allies now believe Russia has amassed enough troops and weapons to launch a devastating attack against Ukraine at any moment. More than 100,000 Russian combat forces have taken up positions encircling more than half of Ukraine, from Belarus in the north to the annexed Crimea in the south, as the U.S. and other countries urge citizens to leave Ukraine while they still can. CNN's Alex Marquardt reports.
The level of alarm that we are hearing from Ukrainian officials on what may be the cusp of a Russian invasion of their country is not nearly the same as what we are hearing from the White House, and that is in keeping with what we have seen over the course of the past few weeks in terms of a difference in messaging between Kyiv and Washington, D.C. That does not mean that Ukrainian officials are dismissing the prospect of a Russian invasion. They are seeing the same intelligence as the U.S. and the rest of NATO, but they have been trying hard to keep their population calm. We have heard from a Ukrainian official who is close to the government of President Volodymyr Zelensky, who tells CNN that the situation is really serious and uncertain. One of the more stark messages that we have heard is from the mayor of Kyiv, the capital city that was named by the National Security Advisor of the United States as one of the potential early targets for the Russians. The Kyiv mayor saying that they are taking steps to protect critical infrastructure. He says that evacuation plans are being put in place, that generators to power electricity have been installed, and that there are more than 5,000 shelters in case of a bombing campaign by the Russians, which could indeed come. The number of shelters growing in recent years. The Ukrainian government has also warned of potential provocations by the Russians, made up pretexts to justify an invasion. This is also something that the United States and others have warned could be coming. Now, there is still some daylight between Ukraine and Western countries, as countries like the U.S. and the United Kingdom tell their citizens that they need to leave Ukraine and draw down non-essential members of their embassies. A spokesman for Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky saying that the security situation has not changed enough to justify that just yet. And in the streets of Ukraine, we're also seeing a bit of the daylight about the expectation of what could happen, both in Kyiv and here in Dnipro in central Ukraine. People are out and about. On a Friday night, they were in restaurants and bars and cafes. When I spoke to several people here in town, they said that they are not thinking about what the Russians may do, that they are going about their lives as normal. Of course, that could change the very second that Russia crosses their borders. Alex Marquardt, CNN, Dnipro, Ukraine.
Canadian anti-vax protesters fought for the reopening of the Ambassador Bridge Sunday. While the standoff lasted long across the 5,500-mile border, Windsor police arrested 30 protesters. Penny DeFlo reports from the highway.
That military-style vehicle is one of several heavy-duty trucks Mounties say broke their barricade, helping get protesters to the Pacific Highway border crossing itself. The RCMP had taken control of the nearest major intersection early Saturday, restricting access to the border crossing to legitimate commercial traffic.
Common law gives us our authority to keep critical infrastructure viable, so we will use law enforcement to, the Motor Vehicle Act, all types of different legislation that by law we are able to use to make sure that this critical infrastructure is open.
That meant hundreds of convoy supporters parked alongside the roads, some walking well over a kilometer to join the demonstration.
Freedom is coming!
Initially, they'd kept to the edges so traffic could keep moving.
Authority is going against you!
But by early afternoon,
The last page of this story has been written. We win!
The crowd ballooned in size with COVID denial messages and anti-vaccine talking points everywhere. Traffic backups impacted much of South Surrey, and Mounties rushed to use their own cruisers to block access to the border. Anti-mandate protesters have been near the crossing since Monday.
I have never worn a mask. I will say I'm not vaccinated because I'm a pure blood. I don't believe in this. It's not right.
In solidarity with a so-called freedom convoy started by truckers with anti-vaccine and anti-government messaging, as they expressed pride in standing up for their beliefs, no matter how controversial they may be.
We're peaceful. We're Canadians. And let me tell you, the world's giving us a bear hug right now, a big bear hug, because they know how we know how to protest.
The crowd had started slowly disappearing by late afternoon, but not everybody may be leaving here without consequences. Mounties have been meticulously documenting everything that's been happening here and plan to pursue the registered owners of vehicles that have been breaking the law. Penny DeFlo, CTV News, Surrey.
Today is the 4-year anniversary of the Parkland school mass shooting. There were 17 people that died when a shooter opened fire at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in 2018. Anti-gun violence groups are using the shooting's anniversary to get the White House to act soon. David Hogg, a Parkland survivor, says that President Biden has been a friend, but not so much a leader.
I'm disappointed, and frankly, if I could say one thing to the president, it's that we need you to go out and act right now before the next Parkland happens, because there are things that you can do right now to help prevent it that you have not done. We need you to make good on your promises because kids are dying.
President Biden commemorated the Parkland anniversary with a statement that highlighted his efforts to pass gun laws. Biden says his administration is pushing legislation to work diligently to crack down on gun dealers and stop the use of ghost guns.
I'm glad we're finally getting some warmer temperatures.
Me too. Let's turn in over to Sydney for another update on the weather.
Thanks, guys. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at our current conditions across North Texas. Now we can see that our temperatures are ranging from the low 50s all the way to the high 60s, and our surrounding areas around Denton, we're going to be seeing our warmest temperatures. That's going to be in McKinney at 65, also Gainesville at 65, and Decatur at 66. Now jumping to our state map, again, we are seeing those similar temperatures with an exception of Amarillo and Oklahoma City being our chilliest temperatures. They are actually expecting snow as well. So if you are traveling up north, just be on the lookout for that. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at our full weather forecast. Today and Tuesday will be sunny, and we are expecting high wind speeds. On Wednesday, we are also expecting thunderstorms and severe rain, possibly even hail and damaging winds. But on a lighter note, our storms are expected to clear Thursday morning, and we should be seeing sunny skies and nicer temperatures throughout the rest of the week. But that is it for our full weather forecast. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Sydney. Jurors in Sarah Palin's defamation trial against the New York Times will resume their deliberations Monday. The jury met behind closed doors on Friday before adjourning for the weekend. The jurors must decide whether the Times is liable for defamation and if Palin deserves financial damages. Palin says the paper accused her political action committee of inciting violence in the Gabby Giffords case. The editorial board for the Times issued an apology 2 weeks later. The former Alaska governor claimed the damage was already done. Palin says that it affected her reputation and well-being.
Almost 36 people were hospitalized after showing signs of being exposed to carbon monoxide. CNN's Joseph Ojo has the latest.
Things appearing to be back to normal now after an early morning scare at Navarro Discount Pharmacies. Miami Fire Rescue says just before 10:30 Saturday morning, they showed up to this supermarket along the 1600 block of West Flagler Street after getting calls about people feeling sick inside.
When we arrived on the scene and we made entry into the building, we found a smell of exhaust.
30 people had to be evacuated from the store as the hazardous materials teams was called in to help.
When our hazardous materials team arrived on the scene and monitored the air inside the building, they found that there was high levels of carbon monoxide.
The store had to be ventilated with electrical fans. Out of the 30 people rushed out, at least 8 were taken to nearby hospitals in serious condition to be treated for carbon monoxide poisoning.
Nausea, headaches, vomiting, and even incontinence.
As for what led to the scary ordeal,
we believe that they were using a propane-powered polisher to shine the floors before the business opened, and that does release CO into the air, carbon monoxide into the air, and that's what probably got these people sick.
Up next, a school gives back, writing love letters to students whose school burned down.
And a man who attended the NFL championship game receives a thoughtful donation.
Sorry, man. Oh, sorry.
Imagine it's ice cream day at the office. And everyone from the day before voted for their favorite flavor. Everyone but you. You decided not to vote. The flavor they picked isn't the one that you wanted. But can you really complain? Shh! Now imagine that with an elected official.
Choose not to vote, choose not to be heard. Get registered today.
save some H2O. This my water rhyme, and this is how it goes. First, turn off the sink and take some time to think. When you waste water, our supply shrinks. When you take a shower, not more than an hour. Shoot for 10 minutes and save water power. Use a reusable bottle, smart like Aristotle. Ditch all the plastic and be a role model. And that was my H2O flow. Please remember how it goes, because if you don't, Earth will go, oh no!
358 elementary school students are switching to remote learning after a historic building was set ablaze. This 110-year-old building was completely destroyed in a fire last Friday, leaving the town of Richmond, Virginia to mourn the neighborhood landmark. Bree Sison reports.
A chain-link fence goes up around the shell of what was a 60,000 square foot haven for learning. For the Cobb family, like so many others, Friday night's fire is devastating.
We have the Ring app. Then the alert came up and it said Hanover and Strawberry Street. I said, oh no, that's like, I know where it is. I said, oh no, okay.
By early Saturday morning, love notes and artwork surround the historic Fox Elementary, while questions swirl about what's next.
Virtual, but I'm not sure how long that is. It going to be the rest of the year? Are we going to have a place?
Many take guesses about how it all flamed out so fast.
My brother's idea was that someone was up there and had a cigarette and left it up there, and it grew into a fire.
While there is no determination yet on what caused the fire, from the mouths of babes, we hear about their priorities.
She only cares that the playground's left. She doesn't really care about the school getting collapsed.
And gain valuable insight to their hearts.
These cute little swallow birds that would fly around the school, and they would nest in the little rafters of the school. And I think it's just so sad because their home was basically destroyed.
The $4 million school building was insured, but officials don't know if they'll be able to rebuild on the same site.
The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air spinoff takes a dramatic turn, but it might be for the best. CNN's Rick Damigella reports.
This time we'll try to make you forget who you are and where you came from.
Newcomer Jabari Banks makes his on-screen debut as Will in Bel-Air. And just like his character, Jabari is from Philadelphia, finding himself rushed to Southern California for the first time.
I went to theater school in Philadelphia, dropped out, and I had just been auditioning, working, and trying to make something happen.
Let's go find you something fit for a prince.
What do you think? I booked the role, and 2 days later, I was, out in LA. First time in LA, screen tests, fittings, and whatnot. And then the week after that, I was filming in Philly on a TV show, right? And so I got shot out of a cannon.
Be the Will who charmed West Philly with his talent and swag.
We learned from him, because there's
he's just so open.
He's so open and free, and he's not jaded, over years and years. Sometimes you can get a little bit, just a little bit.
Listen, I'm agreeing with
scared you. to take risks.
The series also takes risks as a drama looking at today's issues.
In the original Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, a lot of Carlton's struggles were played for laughs. Like, it was always, you have this kid who doesn't know how to be black. He's pretty much a white kid. But I love that the show explores the darker side of that. What are the ramifications of a 16-year-old kid not feeling like he belongs in his own community?
We have a different set of rules here, okay? If you want to do well, just keep your head down and follow my lead.
Whoa. Man, I'm going to rep West Philly wherever I go.
In Hollywood, I'm Rick Damigella.
Voting is officially underway across Texas.
Reporter Ebony Kennedy is out live with more information on voting for this election.
The right to vote is fundamental for students to participate and make a difference. UNC students can vote Monday through Friday at the Gateway Center from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., room 52. Here are the people running in the Denton County election. For County Judge, current Judge Andy Eads and his opponent, Dallas Democrat, for Brian Thompson. Precinct 2 includes Trent Teague and Dallas Attorney Diana Weitzel. And don't forget, you can cast your votes for these candidates right here on campus. Back to you at the desk.
Fans took to the streets in downtown Los Angeles to celebrate the Rams' victory last night. The police were called when things got a little out of hand. Officers rushed to respond to numerous reports as the crowds of people ran through the streets. Eventually, the police ordered the crowds to break up and tweeted out asking the fans to celebrate responsibly.
To most, football is just a sport, but for an Indiana man, he owes the game his life. Marcus Edwards needed a life-saving kidney transplant when he came up with an interesting idea. Lauren Adams, WLKY, has his story.
On a February morning, at Marcus Edwards' kitchen table, the talk is the upcoming Super Bowl.
I'm an honorary Bengals fan just for this week.
It's a game he never thought he'd see, not necessarily the matchup, but the date on the calendar. He was in kidney failure when he held up this sign at an NFL game in 2019. We shared the Clark County man's story, but nothing happened. We tried again 1 year later as Marcus continued fighting for his life.
As long as I got the dialysis machine and I've got my wife and kids, I'm gonna be all right.
Jennifer Michael happened to see the story, and for days she couldn't help but shake the feeling that maybe she was the one that could help.
The nurse said, "You're a match." I said, "Like a real match?"
So in October 2021, Marcus and Jennifer met for the first time at the hospital, 2 days after giving him her kidney.
There was a complete stranger 15 minutes from me. They just saved my life. You know, it was incredible.
And Marcus still has the sign, this right here, that started it all. He made it at a 2019 Bears game and held it up, hoping to make it on TV. But that almost didn't happen.
And she said, "You're going to actually hold that up?" I said, "Yeah."
That's what his wife said at the time. They both now credit the sign for starting a chain of events that led them to Jennifer, a woman they now consider part of their family.
My uncles and aunts in
Oh my
Maryland,
gosh.
yeah, they've contacted her, you know. And
Yeah, I have so many family members. I'm like, "Oh, Uncle Raymond."
Marcus, who once wondered if he'd be around to see his kids' milestones, now knows he'll be there and says Jennifer will too.
boys graduating high school, she'll be there.
She'll be there.
Everything, you know.
But first,
Kickoff's at 6:30.
they'll be watching the Super Bowl together. In Clark County, Lauren Adams, WLKY News.
Speaking of being selected, have you heard about UNT's faculty and staff spotlight of the month, Jalen?
I don't think I have, but I think our sports anchor, Ashton Cotton, can educate me a bit. Ashton?
Thanks, Austin. Are you in control of your nutrition? Stay with us as we highlight Charles Ashford, one of UNT's leading members in sport nutrition, right after the break.
UNT is more than 125 years in the making. To find new solutions, we create a new point of view. We know what's possible when creativity, originality, and independent thought converge. We're ranked a Tier 1 research university. We're home to excellence the size of Texas. Define your future at UNT and soar to new heights.
Not all heroes wear capes. UNT's very own faculty member, Charles Ashford, has wasted no time in changing lives. Joining the Mean Green family almost 5 years ago, Charles has taught all of us an important lesson on nutrition. Providing the best meal plans for UNT student athletes, Ashford has built sports nutrition program from the ground up. Drastically moving from London, England, where he previously taught, Charles soon discovered some issues while converting Mean Green into an all-green campus. Trusting the process and staying true to his purpose, Charles has committed to enhance all UNT performances in ways that may seem unrealistic. Like the Tower, Mean Green has successfully secured their 10th straight win. We are witnessing history as the Mean Green basketball debuts again, receiving the nation's best scoring defense, concluding to 67-44 defeat over Rice this past Saturday. Second-year guard Mardrez McBride becomes one of the Conference USA top contenders from behind the three-point line, reaching his 100th three-point career high, Marjoris and the rest of Mean Green basketball strives to keep the momentum going as they prepare to take on FL Atlantic away this Thursday. Tip-off is at 6 p.m. The biggest game of this season. That's all for sports today. Back to you guys at the desk.
Sunday was a big night for the LA Rams wide receiver Van Jefferson, who is now both a professional football champion and a new dad. Jefferson's wife, Samaria, went into labor in the middle of the biggest game last night. Thank you for watching ntTV News at noon.
Join us again tomorrow for the latest coverage here at North Texas Television.